Hi everyone, greetings from National Skills Network. This time we are focusing on a very special program, which is an Indo-Japanese collaboration, and it is connected with skilling and employment. So I'm talking about TITP, and there are many sending organizations in India which are playing an important role in sending the candidates to Japan by preparing them well to become a part of the workforce there. So in this connection today, we are meeting Dr. Krishnan Narayanan, who is the CEO of Nihon Edutech, and he's going to tell us more about TITP. Well, not only TITP, but his interest in Japan and also why he's so dedicated to, help youth from India to get a job in Japan and, also create brighter prospects for many youth in the coming years. So welcome to this talk, Dr. Krishnan. And we would like to know more from you about, like I said, first thing is your interest in Japan and how does Nihon Edutech work as a sending organization collaborating with NSDC. That would also be something very interesting and pertinent for all of us to hear from you. Let's go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Krishnan, and I have been associated with Japan for more than 30 years.
Okay.
Initially, I started off in the IT field, just like many of us Indians have gone abroad. But it so happened that my country was Japan. I went to Japan to do technology in the financial technology world. I worked in banks and IT for many years. And then around like 5 years ago, I came back to India and we set up a dedicated IT services organization for Japan because of my past Japan connection. But very soon we found out that there's a huge demand for workforce in Japan, not just in the IT space, but in the non-IT space as well. And that's how Nihon Edutech was born. Just incidentally, 10 years ago, I had also set up a polytechnic college as a means of giving back to the community in India, and that's in the south of Tamil Nadu. It's called RECT Polytechnic, and I'm a trustee along with 3 others. We set up this particular polytechnic college. So one of my customers in IT kind of found out about that, and he said, why don't you also help in teaching Japanese language and bringing non-IT people to Japan? So that's how we got into the skilling space. And what we did was we brought in a set of Japanese teachers, native language teachers, set up a small training center here in Chennai. And then we looked at skilled workforce, basically polytechnic graduates and ITI graduates. We had polytechnic, but they are also working together in, most of the automobile companies in Chennai. If you look at it, most of them are fresh graduates. They go as apprentices. So we took a small group of apprentices, our first 15 members really, and we trained them in Japanese. And at that time, still the whole agreement between India and Japan was not yet completed.
Okay.
So we had to work with the Ministry of Skills Development, CII, which is one of our consortium partner, and of course, National Skills Development Corporation, which then became the central body to help this TITP or Technical Intern Training Program between India and Japan. So that's how I got connected with NSDC, and we were able to send, actually I want to show you this. This is our first 15 members that, went for the very first time from India under the TITP scheme. That was in April of 2018, where at the time, Honorable Minister Dharmendra Pradhanji was also the skills minister at that time.
Yeah.
So they gave a send off and we were able to send the first batch. Since then, we have been focusing on skills training, and so far we have sent around 200 plus people in the areas of manufacturing. Of course, that's where we started first. In the automobile mechanic space, in construction, and recently in agriculture. In fact, we also sent 2 girls for the very first time from India in agricultural field to this prefecture called Kochi Prefecture. Similar name as our Kochi, but it's a prefecture in Japan where they are very particular, and it's a fully agro-based economy there. So they have taken. And recently, we have also started getting into the care worker, because care worker is a category of people that Japan needs a lot because of their aging population.
Yeah.
So that's how I got, background in Japan, like a bit of involvement in the polytechnic, kind of all came together. Currently, Nihon Edutech is totally focused on Japan as a market, if you will, and we're totally dedicated. We have a team of 5 Japanese teachers plus few Indian teachers together teaching Japanese to all the candidates. And then we have a setup in Japan to help place all those candidates.
Okay, that's great. And also to know that, you have been so dedicated to this Japanese, not only the country, the government, but also the industry. And now you are trying to help our youth to get placed there in very interesting, lucrative jobs. I'll come back to the jobs a little later, but before that, I think it would be nice to know, how does a sending organization actually work with NSDC, and how does it work with, let's say, another organization in Japan? I'm asking you this also because the objective of this conversation is also to help people know what exactly is a sending organization, and in case they want to become one, what is it that they should be doing?
So sending organization is, as the name suggests, an organization that selects the youth, right youth for various jobs in Japan, trains them, prepares them, and then helps in the dispatch or the sending from India to Japan.
Yeah.
NSDC, is the nodal agency for this entire technical intern training program. So we are all or what you call, registered or licensed by NSDC to do this skilling. We are primarily focused on language skilling, but we also do a bit of technical skilling. For example, care worker, automobile mechanics. Depending on the requirement, we have to also use other skilling agencies here to give their, if you will, polish the skills before we send them to Japan, because they're going to work in real customer sites once they go to Japan. On the Japan side, there is a receiving organization or a supervising organization. So you can use both the terms. So it's usually paired. So we work with such supervising organization in Japan who are responsible for receiving the candidates and for their well-being during the period of the visa. So the technical intern training visa is a 1 + 2 or 3 years minimum period. So the supervising organization takes care of the individuals while they are working in Japan. So that could be both in terms of their accommodation, for their living, if you will, just going to hospitals or anything if there's a problem, just getting settled in the place where they are and then commuting to the work. And then, of course, work-wise also, they make sure that the organizations that employ them are proper organizations and they take care of the coordination. The important thing with Japan is that all of these technical interns that we send from here to Japan are all employed by real employment organizations, right? For example, we work with Maxell, which is a battery manufacturer. That's a large brand, and our people are all working. The initial 40 people that we sent are all they all went to Maxell in 2 of their factories, and they work. And all the people are working in various shifts, and just like typically what they would do in manufacturing organization in India.
Okay, so that's interesting. And you were also talking about this supervising organization that you have there. Now, let's assume there are some organizations in India who want to become a sending organization. Should they really have some contacts in Japan, or can they just get started? Is it very important for them to have some kind of networking, some kind of base in Japan as well?
Yes, very much. Both in terms of presence or partner in Japan and ability to teach Japanese and perform documentation and other things in Japanese is a critical aspect of a sending organization. So if you take our organization, including myself, we have a large number of people who can speak Japanese, who can communicate with the customers in Japan. We can also do all the visa processing and the transaction, all the communication with the customers in Japanese. Likewise, of course, teaching is a very important thing. They can always work with other Japanese training organizations to help on the training part, even if they don't have an internal training, but they should be able to communicate in Japanese, and they should be able to have some partner in Japan to start the whole because it's a private kind of a business where you are one-to-one looking for organizations that have the demand and giving supply from India.
Yeah, so there somebody should be able to look out for the job openings and then place the candidates, I guess, right? So the market kind of linking has to happen from there. Okay. So I think I don't even need to ask you how important Japanese language is, to go to Japan, but maybe you can give us a couple of insights about how candidates picked up this language, because as we know in India, it's not a very popular language for all of us. But still, for the purposes of getting a job or for various reasons, people do learn Japanese. So in your case, how has it been? Are there any interesting stories you can tell us about candidates who picked it
Right,
up?
absolutely, absolutely. So, just to get a bit of a background, Japanese training has been happening in India for many years because IT industry has always worked with Japan. In fact, in the 90s, we were a leading supplier working with. That's when I also went to Japan. However, in those days, many organizations were like, we could go there without any knowing Japanese and we can start working. And mostly we worked in multinational companies in Japan that was okay with English medium. However, I think, next 15 years or so, Japan was working more with China, and therefore the Japanese language requirement increased. Now, in the skilling ecosystem or the semi-skilled ecosystem, language is a key part because you have to communicate with Gemba as the people that are working in the Japanese manufacturing companies of all, right? So to interact with them. So we have to teach Japanese. Now, Japanese, there is 5 levels in the Japanese language. Similar to the European system, like A1, A2.
Yeah.
We have N. It starts with N5 as the absolute zero base level, and then it can go up to N4, N2, N3, and N1, which is the native level of Japanese. So we teach up to N4 for this team of people, and for that it takes around 6 months for us to teach. Now, we take a little longer than normal other Japanese schools because we are focused on spoken Japanese, because that is what is required for their survival. When I want to do both at the workplace and at the, for your living, day-to-day living, you need the minimum level of Japanese. Now, obviously Indians initially was worried, and like I showed you the 15 people that we took, we told them that firstly, Indian languages and Japanese language actually has a similar, construct. Verb is at the end. Verb is not in the middle like English. So it's like very similar. And then your pronunciation, right? We use A, I, U, A, O. A, I, U, U. A. So same as Japanese also have A, I, U, A, O. So we kind of introduced like that and then started, creating the initial batch. But the initial batch, had the confidence because we said that we certainly send you 100%, so you come. In fact, we had to pay them to come and learn Japanese.
Oh, okay.
We actually paid them stipend to come here, sit with us, learn Japanese. And that's how we, incentivize them, if you will. Okay. But they very quickly picked up. In fact, they picked up so well that along with National Skills Development Corporation, we did a first, and the Indian Embassy in Japan, we had to do a big seminar in Japan. And I was there in Japan. My team of the students actually came on Skype. Zoom was still not popular at the time, so we had to go on Skype. And we actually asked them to speak in Japanese to the customers in Japan. And they were actually quite surprised. They said, wow, these are people working in factories in Japan and they are learning, factories in India, and they have learned Japanese so well. And that kind of, broke the barrier, if you will. In the second year, along with the NSDC and Indian Embassy, we did another seminar. The first year was in Tokyo. The next year, we did a seminar in Nagoya. In Nagoya seminar, by the time I had sent my first batch of 15 people, so what we did, we went and requested the customer, Maxwell in Japan, and they actually allowed the students to come and attend the seminar just because we want to show that Indians can speak language and they can speak quite well. So that really changed. And we suddenly went from 20, 30 people, we went to 100 plus. And then now more than 500 people, I think 450 to 500 people have been sent from India. But the language part, they realize it can pick up. And since you asked something interesting, I will tell you, many of these guys cannot speak English very well. Even today, they know English, they can understand, but they cannot reply in English. But they learn Japanese, and whenever I speak to them in English, they actually speak to me in Japanese.
Oh, okay.
Like they feel more fluent and comfortable in Japanese than to English, because somehow that whole construct, the grammar, and of course pronunciation is very accent neutral like our languages.
Okay, so that's so nice to hear. They must be quite fluent also, by then, like you said. And now that they live there, they have stayed there. Is there something like, few students who would have had problems or wanted to come back? Was there cases like that also?
Yes, we have had issues. Specifically during the Corona, there was quite a lot of challenges. We do find that people, because in this technical intern training program, there is an expectation you go for almost like 3 years, right? So because the salaries and the purpose of going is to save money and things like that, coming back to India, on leave and things like that is a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So we always tell them that stay for 3 years, earn. They almost save 5-6 lakhs per year, and they come up with within 3 years something like almost 20 lakhs of savings certain people have had, and they don't travel back. So there's been some issues like sometimes they feel homesick. Sometimes they have parents are ill here, and there is a challenge. We've also had issues where during Corona, like somebody lost their parents and they had to come back for good. Some people, because they come back because their brother was taking care of a local business or taking care of parents was not there, and therefore they had to come back to responsibility here. And that kind of movement, sometimes they lose the ability to stay for the 3 years and come back. So we've had some issues like that. As well as locally, there is sometimes like people, you have like the discipline issue, right? When I say discipline issue, in Japan, people don't take a holiday just like that by deciding that in the morning I have a headache. Team is always planned ahead of time, and everything is communicated, because you're working in small teams, and within teams there's always like if you take leave and somebody else has already planned the leave, it becomes a challenge. So those sort of sometimes disciplinary issues we get involved. So I continuously I'm connected with the people in Japan. So today we have around 200 people, and we keep in touch through our supervising organization. And also we have our own admin team which is connected with them, and we provide support. And moral support anyway we have to provide. And if they have to come back, like for example, some people have come for short visits, like one person recently lost his father, he had to come back for the cremation and go back. So we help in their travel back and forth so that they can easily come and go. So those sort of support we provide.
Yeah, I think, that's much needed perhaps. But like you said, the culture and also the discipline and the time management and other issues like that, like things, the values we have and the values they have perhaps are also different. And we might have to learn those values to adjust and perform there. Now, when it comes to industry focus, like you have already mentioned few industries, but I would be really curious to know more about the agriculture industry, because caregiving, healthcare industry, and also automotive industry, I think are the top two industries, because I was referring to the NSDC page on TITP. How does this agriculture and other industries, what kind of job roles can youth expect there? And also for girls, I mean, is it all good for girls also to take a few roles? What would you say on this?
So firstly, I'll just take the second part, the girls. In fact, Japan probably has more opportunities for girls because, a lot of the industries are not heavy kind of industries, like electronics industry and all. They would prefer more girls working in the manufacturing sector.
Okay.
Then we also find that, in the manufacturing sector, there are also equal number of girls or more girls, if you will, in some of the roles, because machines are doing, and you are like, working along with the machines, managing the machine, if you will. So there is equal opportunity for girls in manufacturing. There is also like, areas like food processing and all that are coming where they're specifically looking for women more than, male labor, right? Of course, care worker is the area where it's naturally more suited for women than men in that sense. So they really like, are equal in that. Now coming to you're right. The large demand that we are seeing is care worker. We are also seeing in manufacturing and in the automobile mechanics. However, what we have found is construction and agriculture are opening up as two opportunities that there's a lot of demand.
Okay.
Now, specifically in agriculture, Japan, as you know, very similar to India in that sense, a lot of agriculture and there's a lot of protective local agriculture that is there. And they also take pride in their own produce in Japan. But due to the aging, a lot of the farms are being managed by aging people and they need support in the farm. And in the agricultural space, there is two categories. There is crops and there is livestock. We focus only on the crops more for our own sort of interest areas. But if you look at in the crop farming sector, the demand, typically the job role is across the board. So you do anything in the farm. So you are a farm hand. So is from the owner to everybody. They work as a team, small teams that are working in farms, various farms. And mostly we work in greenhouse type of farms because due to the weather, only in greenhouse there is all year round agriculture. Otherwise, like if they only do rice farming outside, which is only 6 months in a year, then the job is not there for a period of time. Yeah. So we work in greenhouses which are more suited for like vegetable and flowers. So, vegetable, fruits also not much. Vegetables and flowers, I would say, are the main areas. Currently, we are connected specifically with this prefecture called Kochi Prefecture, where we are doing. They are interested in setting up a farm here in India as a way of training them not only in the language but also in the farm activity before going to Japan. So we are trying to create a more of a multi-skill type of a model, and that plan is under works now to be executed between now and next year, so that we can start sending people that are trained in both language and the skill.
Okay, that's very interesting. The idea of setting up a farm here to train and maybe give them an idea about what it would be, right? They can just get some hands-on experience as well. So besides all these points, now if we have to look at the impact that you created from Nihon Edutech over the last few years, how would you put it in terms of the positive impact, not only just sending the candidates, but overall, like, in terms of, let's say, reaping the demographic dividend of India?
Correct. See, firstly, I would say it gives us huge satisfaction when we see as the person is about to fly out, when the entire family comes to see them off in the airports, right? And parents are all profusely thanking, and we tell them that it's your boys or girls who have actually put in the effort and studied and got selected. We are just merely facilitating. But it is great, satisfaction for us in seeing that smile, when the people go. And we have had so many of our students who have completed 3 years. They have been able to get their sisters married. They have bought plots of land or built houses for their parents, and they are supporting. And I have people who are getting married and their wives. They want them to study Japanese here in our school so that they can also go and join them in Japan. Okay. As well as like sister brother, study. In fact, as we speak, I have at least one sister of a person who went and came back, and she's already selected. And another couple of brothers, were all studying. So family members, they want to train and send. So to see that they are able to give back to the community, to not only their families, but also a little bit to other people. They introduce friends, and, so many people are studying and going. So the impact we are creating to those smaller communities, I think that gives us the huge satisfaction. I mean, from being an IT, and I used to be a CTO at, companies like Citibank and UBS, right? To doing this, which is training, skilling and sending people, the satisfaction, I would say, that sums up the real feeling that we have. So I think the opportunity for youth today is that, I mean, today we have a lot of youth coming, we have skilled people as opposed to people in, say, Vietnam or China who are sending like people who are school dropouts to Japan. We actually have people who have actually worked mechanical engineering or civil engineering or for that matter, even agriculture or nursing, right? So these candidates, we are able to give them an opportunity where they get 5 to 6 times salary by working in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there is the hurdle of learning the language, which we feel is a not difficult hurdle. So if the kids think about it, the opportunity, and Japan is a safe place. Japan is a very good place. The treatment from the customers are always nice. They take care of and the respect to human is very high in Japanese culture. You learn a lot, and most of the people we have sent and who are coming back are always thinking about, oh, how Japan is, I want to transform India. I want to, like, also make India in the same way. So that feeling, you bring back. So that really is an opportunity for the youth to go, and, the satisfaction we get. So today we have sent 200 people. We have another 100 people in the pipeline, and we are continuing to increase the number of people that we can train and send on a yearly basis, and continuously increase this space.
That's great. And that's great to hear about your vision as well. So thank you so much for sharing the entire story. And in future, I look forward to be connected with you. And if possible, we would be happy to feature a few student stories as well. Those who got trained, at your organization and then went to Japan and are doing well. So maybe we can, publish them in the coming months.
Absolutely. See, one of the things we have always, when we talk to NSDC teams, to the ministry as well, and the embassy consulate, which supports us quite a bit in Osaka, Kobe, and also in the embassy in Tokyo. The big thing we always find is the awareness. There's two things we have to increase. Yeah. The awareness in India, which I think you are helping, and I'm really glad that we connected and you're helping there. Because we need more students to study the language, and that's a skill. That skill is going to carry on until they're, I mean, similar to myself, right? I learned Japanese 30 years ago, never knew it will be of this benefit. Today, I'm only running business based on the fact that I'm, proficient in Japanese. So it's this opportunity that they will all get in the future. That we have to spread, and we have to get more people trained. If more people are trained, the customers are already looking for avenues where they can get more people. Now, today they're going to Vietnam, which is saying that Japanese is a second language in the country. So if you have more people studying Japanese, so we need to create the awareness here to increase that number, and the awareness in Japan, which the embassy and a lot of the other, National Skills also is promoting that. And if we can get these two together, that awareness will really help in that India-Japan partnership.
Sure. Yeah, we would be very happy. And also I'll be connected with you, as I just mentioned. And we look forward to learn more from you. And also, like I said, feature perhaps student stories and anything which is like a success story. And like I was saying earlier, NSN is all about creating awareness and supporting advocacy for skilling vocational education. So we'll be very happy to do so. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you very much.